Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about a very important topic, a very contemporary topic. We're going to talk about the fast delivery industry. It's an industry where we're talking about delivery within a certain amount of minutes, especially 10-15 minutes is the norm if you want to really call yourself a fast delivery company. It's very booming. You see massive growth, you see massive rivalry, and so that's why I would like to talk to you about what's going on over here, what type of players we see, new players particularly, but also some old players, large incumbents that we know from other industries are interested in what's happening here through acquisitions, mergers, takeovers, whatever. So let's see what's going on over here. And as always, I'm more than happy, more than curious to see what you guys are thinking about all that's going to come. At this point, I'd like to ask you to, if you like the video, to click on the like button and to not forget to subscribe. So without any further ado, let's jump into the topic. So fast delivery is very interesting, especially if you think about the business model. If we want fast delivery, we do that because there's a sudden desire. We want something in the evening, in the night, and we want it within 5 to 10 minutes because we're going to watch a movie, or whatever. It caught us in our dreams, and we want to consume something before we sleep. So that can be one thing. The other thing can be more of an emergency situation. You might have people coming over, or you're going to have dinner, but you're missing something essential, or it might really be about, I know, you cut somewhere, you need certain medicine, whatever. It can be all sorts of things, but it's either one or the other category, oftentimes a sudden desire or an emergency situation. And so to provide this, of course, the business model is based on providing you this as soon as possible to meet your sudden desire or the emergency situation. But in return, companies that help you out want, of course, money. So they charge you money, they charge you a fee for going through the pains of delivering to you the products that you want within 5, 10, 15 minutes. It's not an easy market, because think about it. You need to have a company built, designed, and ready to deliver whatever someone wants, of course within your offering, but still whatever someone wants within 5, 10, 15 minutes or so. And so this, of course, requires a massive operation. Companies within the fast delivery industry are, of course, accounted based on their delivery pace, based on the costs of the fast delivery. So how much do you extra charge for a certain product compared to its price in the supermarket? We're talking about, of course, what type of product range there is, what are the product offerings. Yes, sure, 5, 10, 15 minutes requires a logistic operation, but how much are you actually economizing on the amount of products that you're offering? We're talking about reliability. How reliable is your service? If you say 10 to 15 minutes, is it really going to come within 10 to 15 minutes? Can I count on you, right? That's the question. Growth, of course, is also very important here. Can companies really grow fast? And so in an environment where there are lots of other players that are also trying to deliver products within 5, 10, 15 minutes, can you grow fast enough? Can you please others fast enough and acquire consumers, customers fast enough to stay ahead, or at least stay within the race? And putting all of this together, of course, how is it going with your service and with your reputation as you move forward? So massive operation, massive demands from companies. And so the question is, how are you going to make sure that you're actually going to stay in the race, or that you're at least not going to go bankrupt, and perhaps that you become an industry leader? Well, there are a certain amount of things that companies within this industry, the fast delivery industry, altogether are trying to do. First of all, they are looking at dark stores that have a minimal amount of people, that are really oftentimes dark, to economize on electricity, that are as automatized as possible, and that are, of course, full with technology, so that without anybody almost doing anything, if somebody orders something, that the order becomes kind of ready, and so the only thing that needs to happen is for someone to take the delivery from the supply point to where the customer is. These dark stores are very important, very interesting, because what they also help you with is that because people don't have to see the inside of the store, this store can be located in a street, in an alley that is kind of not that interesting, and with that, because it's not that demanded by people, by shops, by stores, by tourists, by consumers, whatever, because the traffic is not that much, you can locate these dark stores in locations that are much cheaper, and with that you can of course economize on costs. So dark stores are one, but where you're going to put them is the second. Location optimization. So how are you going to put your locations in such a way that you really can make the promise of delivering something within 5, 10, 15 minutes or whatever. So this of course requires a massive operations management. It of course also requires data analysis to find out where inefficiencies are. Route mapping of course also very important, so that you can find the ideal locations. Consumer data analysis, and of course delivery and operations data analysis, again very important. If customers order something, if you deliver something, if the logistics, if the operations are going on, so how can you learn from this? Everything that happens is a data point, and we're now in 2021, that's when I'm shooting this video, and so everything is a data point, and from everything you can learn, because we have the systems for it, we have the technology for it, and if you build your systems well, your systems can learn automatically from what's happening. And then of course we'll talk about machine learning, we'll talk about artificial intelligence. The great thing, or the important thing at least, for fast delivery companies is that you have this digital supermarket, basically the application itself, where this application is going to learn from the deliveries, from the orders, what people want, that it becomes more prominent, what people don't want, that it becomes less prominent on the application, and at some point that you don't hold that many of those products in your dark store, so that you completely ban them because people don't want it. So your application needs to learn. With your application, your business needs to learn. And again, in terms of operations, if certain routes are inefficient, if certain dark stores are in an inefficient location, if certain drivers, if certain couriers are ineffective, are unpleasant, whatever, your data needs to tell you this, if you don't only want to be fast, but also successfully fast. Personalization, very important. Everybody's application needs to kind of look different, or at least region by region it needs to look different. You need to adapt yourself to the consumer, to the region in which you are, to the city in which you are, to the country in which you are, whatever. You need to always have a different offering, an offering that fits best with the type of customer you have. Not only the products, but also the special promotions. If someone, an individual, doesn't use the application that much, you want to give an extra promotion. If someone uses the application a lot, you want to offer exactly that, what you think this person is going to demand. And with that, with convenience comes purchases, and with purchases of course comes income. And if you do this all well, based on data management, based on managing the application, the company, the satisfaction, the data, the whatever, if you manage everything perfectly, with this of course comes satisfaction and reputation. One very interesting thing that also comes forward in the gig economy in general, but especially also in terms of fast delivery industry, what you see is that treating workers, employees well is very important. We see that certain companies, because employees are not being seen as employees, but more as someone who's contracted, a third party, just a courier basically, there's a massive backlash with some companies. I'll be talking about this in the coming minutes, and these kind of things are things that you may want to look out for in trying to have a better reputation for your company, because in 2021 reputation is very important for your company. Is everything is the same, you may want to order something from a company that simply has a better reputation. And if you look at it, there's not that much on the forefront that you can see as a customer in terms of which company is better than the other one. If the fees are the same, delivery times are kind of the same, and offerings are kind of the same, then reputation is going to matter a lot. And so you may want to have a special attention to reputation. Making sure that all of this works well, of course, is dependent on technology, particularly so. Your application is technology, making everything work between the employee, the customer is backend technology. The operations management requires also computers and computing power, of course. Everything is managed by technology. The feedback loops from data to the system improving itself through manpower or automatically is, of course, also and data-based, technology-based, but at some point, if you can take it to the next level, it again turns into machine learning and into artificial intelligence. So technology is very much at the center of most of these fast delivery companies, and most actually also claim to be a technology firm. We're going to talk about the valuations of these companies in a little bit, but the valuations are also way higher than the sum of the assets of these companies. And so if you look at the valuations and if you compare that to the assets that these companies have, and if you see the discrepancy, then you really think, okay, what are these investors then paying for? Why are they investing so much in these businesses? And well, then the answer that comes forward is most likely that they're investing in the technology and the manpower, human capital, basically what we're talking about. When saying manpower, of course, I'm not trying to be gender unequal here. I mean mankind, human. You've heard the word a couple of times already. All of this, of course, requires investment. Technology intensive industries, setting up the logistics, setting up the operations, setting up the databases and whatever. The massive operation that comes with fast delivery requires finding investors, which is very, very important for fast growth within the fast delivery industry, and in an industry that's as congested, almost not congested in terms of maturity, but congested in terms of the amount of players that we kind of see in this type of an industry. You need to be fast and you need to be furious. So, and of course, finding the investors at this point is very much contingent on having a strong team, having a strong business plan, and if possible, having good performance with which you can lure investors in. So, how did this industry kind of take off? Well, Turkish giant Getir argues that it is the pioneer of this industry, that was the first. And you know, then we were talking about kind of the 2015s, and since then many things have happened and many players have showed up. And so if you like, let's have a look at how this industry developed and which key players we have in this industry and how things look like, and after that let's have a talk about the future. So let's start with Getir. Getir came forward in the mid-2015s. Getir was founded back then by people who already had quite some knowledge in terms of e-commerce, in terms of logistics, in terms of delivery. With this came that in a time span of 5.5 years, well, it became a unicorn, and we were talking about the 5.5 years where this industry was not yet there, kind of. Nobody knew about it. Getir kind of handcrafted this industry by itself, and so in a handcrafted industry, kind of a blue ocean strategy, if you wish, you see that Getir became an unicorn in the industry it came up with itself. Since then, of course, I mean, Getir's Turkish business, Turkish company, so especially in Turkey, of course, it became very well known. It started also moving into different areas, not only fast delivery, but also more general, like supermarket delivery, for example, delivery of water at some point as well, and so on. So different types of businesses diversified in, but of course, its key competence, core competence, what it's the best in is, of course, fast delivery. And so in trying to grow further beyond the boundaries of Turkey, it has expanded since then, since 2021, particularly as it became a unicorn and as it started to get investments, external investments, particularly massive sums. It started to expand to the UK, Netherlands, and Germany, and France firstly. This it did through internal development, basically meaning that it's the Getir brand. It's just, as it started off in Turkey, it first builds its logistics and its operations, it recruits people, then it starts in a certain region, and then it tries to grow around that. Mainly enters a country's capital city. So in Netherlands it's Amsterdam, in Germany it's Berlin, in the UK it's London, and then from there within the countries it grows relatively slowly. It's mainly trying to go from country to country to country, trying to have a beacon and trying to have a key focal point within the country, and as that one is moving it tries to go to the next country so that it can stay ahead in the race of internationalizing and in general, of course, in delivering stuff fast. And then at some point it started to deviate from its strategy. It bought this company called Block, and with that, very interestingly, it gained access to Spain, to Italy, and soon also to Portugal. So as it wanted to grow faster and faster internationally, it found out that there's this company that's relatively new, that's not yet that full-fledgedly developed. There's an opportunity here. It's a good team. They did not get that much investments yet. So why don't we invest in it? Why don't we buy this company with about 100 employees? And with that, why don't we instantly gain access to Spain and Italy? And with Spain and Italy, you should think about Barcelona, Madrid, and Milan. Milan, I guess, and Portugal soon. So with all of this, with this massive operation that you see, this internationalization, currently Getir's valuation is around $7.5 billion, and with that it kind of tops the fast delivery industry in terms of valuation. It prides itself on having vast experience because it's around, of course, for many years, especially compared to its competition, which we're going to get to in a second. It got a lot of investment until now. Only in the last round already it got about $555 million, and in total it has gotten already over $1 billion in terms of investment. And interestingly, the owners still hold majority control of the company, which of course also offers a lot of potential in terms of the future. It can of course sell stocks and with that grow through the stock exchange, for example, but also in future investment rounds it can also sell stocks off the shares, at least, off the stock exchange, and with that gain even more funds. So let's talk about Getir's major competitor, which is Gorillas. Gorillas is a German company. It was founded in May 2020, and it turned into a unicorn in less than a year, which I think is a massive achievement. Very remarkable. Its founders, of course, are also people who are knowledgeable, good team, good operation, and with that, of course, in the industry where Getir has shown what's possible, of course, Gorillas kind of benefited from this because it became easier to get investment because people now know what's going on. As Gorillas drafted, of course, a strategy, drafted a plan, and drafted the network, it became easier to draw funds. Gorillas has expanded only to the Netherlands, UK, and France until now, in addition, of course, to Germany. So it has expanded to less countries than Getir has. It also has less experience because it's just kind of 1 year old. And of course, it also has gotten less of a valuation and less funding until now. So especially the valuation and the funding part is very flexible because this can change very quickly. According to the rumors that I've read and that you can also see, you can just do a quick and easy Google. Soon there's going to happen another investment round for Gorillas because they of course want to stay in the race, perhaps overtake Getir. And so this new investment round, it looks like Gorillas is going to reach the $6 billion valuation mark, and they're also expected to gain about $1 billion of funding that should help Gorillas catch up in terms of internationalization. It's interesting that Getir, Gorillas is also following a little bit of a different internationalization strategy. It's not only targeting the capital city, it's also going after smaller cities within each and every country. Different way of internationalization. I'm going to get to this in a second as well, but very interesting to see the two companies that are going head on choose kind of a bit of a different strategy and trying to grow. So after Gorillas and Getir, the other companies are kind of smaller of proportion, but with that, of course, in the future, anything can happen. You see how fast Gorillas has grown in a year, and so for the other companies, as long as they can build a good enough company, provide a good enough business plan, perhaps they can also, overtake Getir and Gorillas within a short time span. But let's also talk a bit about these companies and let's see what they have to offer. So Flink is another German company that is very interesting. It's not yet a unicorn. It's active in the Netherlands and France, so it has already internationalized and is active in Netherlands and France on top of Germany, of course. So it's active in 3 countries and has raised until now about already $250 million, which is kind of a nice amount of money, and that really helps this company to go on, and perhaps is going to get even more in the future. Nice thing about Flink is also that it has important cooperations within Germany with for example, supermarkets, with other grocery stores and delivery businesses. And with this, of course, prospects for Flink within Germany at least are very interesting, especially if you consider the home turf competition with Gorillas, but also after Getir's entry into Germany, these kind of things are going to be very important. So if you look at the UK market, it's very interesting. Of course, Flink is there. Flink is not there. Gorillas is there. Getir is there. But some homegrown companies are also there. We're talking about Weezy. We're talking about Dija. So these 2 companies are UK only, but that means that, of course, not only UK only, but they are in the UK, especially in London, of course, because massive market. They are not unicorns, got only about $20 million of investment, kind of, but they're doing quite well. They're more region by region trying to expand, so more focused, more of a niche. And of course, within the UK, they have the benefit of being UK companies, and with that, perhaps being able to steal the hearts of UK people. In the end, it's all going to be about performance, of course, but until that point, at least, Weezy and Dija still have something to say. They're, of course, seeking to grow beyond London, beyond the UK. They're also expanding within the UK, but trying to also go perhaps overseas at some point, but that's too early, at least for now. Then finally, the company that I would like to talk to you about in terms of fast delivery is Cajoo. Cajoo is a French company. It got only about $10 million of investment until now. But Cajoo's ambitions for now are also much less, focusing on Paris, trying to do well there, trying to be nice to employees is something very important to them. Also something they say that they would rather want to economize on growth than be bad or do poorly, and so it's a company that grows less fast but still is promising, especially within France. So having said all of this, these are not the only companies that are threats to the fast delivery industry, because there are some giants that are threats nevertheless, even though they are not really 100% focusing on fast delivery industry. For example, Uber Eats is doing fast delivery in certain markets through, for example, certain partnerships, or doing fast delivery in certain branches in the UK through Cost Cutter, in Australia through Coles, in France through Carrefour, in Spain through Galp, and in Brazil through Peg Menos, Shell Select, and through Kobasi. It has these different branches of fast delivery that is active in and saying, hey, I have some capabilities here, I have some experience here, watch out for me. It's kind of the signal that comes from Uber. And should it see the lucrative side of this market, want to be growing bigger here, might either do an acquisition because it's so much bigger and very active, of course, on the stock exchange, and can easily sell some extra shares to get extra money for a takeover, but it might also internally try to grow within. Glovo is this other party that's also relatively big, relatively well known, especially around Spain, but not only Spain, generally, let's say Southwest Europe. It kind of delivers whatever you want, so it does not have a specific thing that it delivers. It kind of delivers whatever you want. Long time since it has been a unicorn, quite a successful business, so another business to be careful about in terms of it possibly entering the fast delivery industry. And so there are these third category of companies that I now would like to talk to you about, which is these companies that are not fast delivery companies, that are not even a little bit, not even active in this industry, but perhaps could get active here, and so they're a threat potentially in that sense. Not going to go into depth into these companies because there are a lot. We're talking about GoPuff, US company, Just Eat Takeaway, a Dutch British company, Amazon, we all know, Deliveroo, we know, Delivery Hero, we also know, Wolt, perhaps you don't know, it's a Finnish company, and Crisp, a Dutch company. These two are somewhat newer. One focused on mainly meal delivery, the other one aspiring to be a supermarket. So Wolt mainly on meals, and Crisp mainly focusing on being a supermarket. These are all not active in fast delivery, but either because they are still small and young and flexible, or because they have the means for it and can invest in terms of fast delivery, they are still, I think, potentially a very big threat to fast delivery. So let's have a look at the future here. So how does the future of this market look like? So this is not a settled market. It's not a market that has come to maturity, right? So it's still a market that is growing, very dynamic, and very chaotic. So kind of anything can still happen here. Any company can overcome the other, can beat one, can lose to another, and so on. So this is not a market where it can be complacent. So the pace of business growth is super important in this industry, and so there are different strategies around internationalization, around the idea of how should I grow my business. Some are going mainly for the capitals, right? For example, Getir is doing this, having a beacon city, and then going to the other country, and then having internal growth within the country, but not that much fast paced. Others are going really for trying to be active in the whole country as much as possible, trying to conquer the whole country, and only then moving to the other one. This is smaller internationalization, but at least solidifying a certain country, and I think that's interesting from that perspective. And then there's also the acquisition strategy, right? Trying to grow through acquiring the other business. Getir did an acquisition. We talked about this. GoPuff is thinking of entering the European market also through an acquisition. So this is also one way of going forward. It's not that one's better than the other one. It is a choice. Opportunity costs are very important. If you do one thing, you cannot do the other one. If you want to internationalize as fast as possible, then you cannot go within the country to each and every city. If internationalization, so the amount of countries in which you are in, if that's more important, then perhaps you should just let go of certain markets. Perhaps that's simply the way. And acquisitions or internal development, internal growth, that's a matter of, do you have the funds to acquire, and do you see the opportunity to acquire, right? So all question marks in that sense. It is based on the management team, what they decide. So pace of business growth is very important, but that's not the only thing in terms of the future of this industry. What's going to determine who's going to be best and who's not going to be best, or who's going to be alive and who's going to go bankrupt. The other thing is, of course, maintaining quality, which is basically going to look at the pace of delivery, the reliability of delivery, the cost of delivery, the customer, how you treat the customer, right? Can you personalize? Can you offer the things they want, the products, but also the promotions that they deserve based on their activities, or that you have to provide them to acquire them as a customer, and so on. So this part of things is also going to be very important. How much quality is your service, especially in industry where margins perhaps are smaller, where margins, not only in terms of cost but also in terms of how fast you can be, is smaller, and where it is so chaotic, there's no chance of slacking off and making a mistake. And so these kind of things are very important. Finally, treating employees well is very important. It's always important, especially in this industry. We saw that Gorillas has had massive backlash from its workers in terms of, you're not treating us well, we don't have the rights that we want to have, and is this good or not? And then you see Cajoo having a business model, especially around treating people well. Getir has the same mentality there, also openly speaking of trying to treat employees well and giving them as much as rights as possible, just as any other employee, and so on. So that's also a very important thing here in this industry. Reputation, at some point, if everything's equal, reputation trumps, and for some people reputation is even more important than costs and pays. So you cannot economize on reputation. I hope I helped you understand this industry and the dynamics of it better. If so, please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe buttons. I wish you all the best in the world and hope to see you again anytime soon. Take care.